welcome back to another episode of Wild California. Today I want to show you a wild edible that I'm going to be foraging. I say foraging because I actually have it growing here in my yard. But you can forage this all up and down the state. The season starts here in the south and will move up as the summer wears on. And today we're talking about the California golden currant. Picked this up at a native plant nursery about 10 years ago and I put it in my yard. I didn't know anything about them. And this has turned out to be a really fantastic thing to grow and to eat and to forage. And like I said, this is growing in my yard, but you can find this in the Sierras. You can find it all up and down the coast. So this is the California golden currant. It's Ribes aureum. And to ID it, almost all gooseberries and currants that I know of have this threefold leaf. It's got kind of the fanned out, not one central stem, but kind of a fan pattern on the stem. And then the berries start off green, and then they turn yellow, and then they turn orange, and then eventually they turn red. Here's a closer look at the berries. They tend to grow in this kind of really elegant string of pearls configuration. And there's no real shortcuts here. I'm just gonna come and grab these berries one at a time like that. And then I'm gonna put them in my bucket. A key to foraging is patience. When you go to the grocery store, that food has already been processed. You get a steak, they don't grow a steak, right? They grow a cow. Even potatoes and onions and carrots, they have to be cleaned, they have to be cured, things like that. So we're kind of used to convenience food, but real food takes time, and I'm willing to put in that time for something that, I can't buy this at the grocery store. They grow on the stem and they have this little tag, and actually once you're cooking it and stuff, you don't notice that, but if I'm eating them fresh, I just pick that out. The flavor is a lot like raspberry, but it has a little bit of a tartness, kind of like a cranberry, but very, very subtle tartness. It's a really well-balanced berry. It's really great. So I'm gonna come and harvest a bunch of these right now, and I'm just collecting them in my freezer, and then we're gonna make something with them. All right, so there's my haul for today. It's about half a quart. And to process these now, I'm gonna just give it one little drop of hand soap and then water. And the reason for that is there'll be like spiders and aphids and ants and things. So just let this sit for a little while in soapy water, and then I'll rinse and drain really well, and I'll freeze until I have enough to work with. Okay, it's been a month or two, and I collected 2 full quarts of these golden currants. And so today I'm gonna process these, and I wanna make just a little bit of a fruit syrup. And that'll be good on ice cream or pancakes, or really good in a mixed drink, and I'll mix up a drink later and show you our favorite recipe for things like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and process these. I wanna get rid of that woody stem thing. I'm gonna just simmer them for a little while in a little bit of water. I'm gonna food mill it, and I'm gonna add sugar and starch and cook it until it's thick. Okay, so we're just gonna empty those in there. A little bit of water loosens things up. And give you a little closer look at these. These are frozen. That's what I'm talking about, that woody stem. These are gorgeous, and like I said, they taste kind of raspberry. So I'm really excited to see how this comes out. So I just put a little bit of water, and I'm gonna put it on the heat right now on a low simmer, and that water is gonna help thaw these berries, and it's gonna start bursting them open, and then we'll hit it with the food mill. Okay, so we'll just bang that on the stove. I'm gonna go just kinda medium heat, lid on, and we're gonna let that come to a simmer and let the berries start to burst and simmer that for about 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, now we're simmering. I'm just gonna hit it with the potato masher. And I'm really just trying to extract as much flavor as I can from these berries. And I don't want all that water I added in there. I want it to kind of evaporate off. Since I'm making a syrup, that's what's gonna make it flavorful, and that's what's gonna make it thick. So we've boiled off some of the liquid here, and we're starting to get some nice color. So we're gonna run it through the food mill. If you don't have one of these, it's a great kitchen item. It's really good for separating juice from pulp and things like that. I'm gonna use the finest grade mesh I have on there, and it just has this little auger that goes on. Put a link in the description for this. This is a little $50 item, but I use it all the time for processing foods. So that's good to go. We're just gonna basically pour all of that in there if we can. Just make sure we get it all in there. And that auger is gonna push the berries down up against that plate. And every once in a while you wanna run it backwards, which clears the plate. Every once in a while you wanna come and just make sure you're getting this stuff off the sides too. One other key thing you have to do is come scrape all that pulp off the bottom occasionally, because it kinda You want that in there. Kind of clogs it up a little bit. Here's our puree, if you want to call it that. It's a little bit chunky. Let's give it a try. Wow, it's really tart. It needs sugar. And I actually think I do want to get rid of this pulp, so I'm going to run it through a strainer real quick too. I'm just working it through a little strainer here. I don't want this pulp in the syrup. It's got kind of a mealy texture. As I'm doing this, it's starting to smell a lot like strawberries, which is really pleasant. Okay, so I've got my 2 cups of juice. I'm going to reserve a little bit to mix the starch into, just about a 1/4 cup. The rest will go in here, a little saucepan, and I'm going to add, I have 2 cups of juice, so I'm going to add 2 cups of sugar. 1, seems like a lot, but this is what's going to preserve it. This is what's going to help make it thick. 2, that heat going on at about medium. I've been using tapioca starch. I think it tastes a little bit better than cornstarch. And I'm going to put in, I have 2 cups of juice, so I'm going to start with 3 good tablespoons of tapioca starch. And we'll just whisk this into the free juice that I saved, and then we'll add that in to my sugar mixture here. And the reason to do this is because it's really hard to get all the clumps out if you just pour it right in. Hopefully people know that. Just gonna let this come up to a simmer and start thickening, and we'll add the cornstarch, and the cornstarch will swell and cook and then thicken it as well. And I should get 3 or 4 cups worth of syrup in the end. All right, I've got the cornstarch and the sugar in there. I'm just gonna let it thicken. I wanna try it one more time though. I gotta say, when I was putting it through the mesh, I started to think this is one of those ones that's not gonna work, but suddenly I'm thinking it is working. Oh yeah. It's really nice. It's like a combination between raspberry and strawberry. Really lovely. So it's tasting nice, but I'm gonna do a little audible and add just juice of half a lemon into this. If you've never made syrup before, just looking for, obviously a syrupy consistency. That's about right, where it's streaming off like that. You can also do the spoon test if you drag your finger through the back of the spoon if it doesn't fill in. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and can 3 or 4 of these, and I'm gonna put some in this bottle I have here. I already heat sterilized these jars, and then I'll fill them, and then we'll seal them, and we'll put them in boiling water for 10 minutes. So if you don't know how to can, it's really that simple. You just seal it up, and you put it in a hot water bath. Okay, so we got my 3 jars of golden currant syrup, plus a jar that will go in the fridge. These are shelf stable now, I've canned them. And I'm gonna make a little drink here. So I'm gonna show you what we like to do with syrups like this. Obviously, like I said, ice cream, pancakes, that sort of thing. But we always like to make a little cocktail at the end of the day of foraging and processing berries. And so there's a drink we always make, which is syrup, liquor, lemon juice, carbo water over ice. And we call that the Forager's Delight. So I'm gonna make some of that right now. So I have my golden currant syrup. This came out a little bit thick, so I'm just gonna mix it up first before I add the ice. Teaspoon of syrup. I'm gonna do about a teaspoon of lemon juice. Mix that up. For the liquor, I'm gonna use Añejo tequila, which is what I have around and kind of what I prefer. I'm gonna add a couple ice cubes, and I'm gonna add to the top with carbo water. So again, Forager's Delight. Let's give this a try. Oh, it's really nice. I could taste the lemon. The syrup came out tasting kind of like strawberry, but not strawberry. You might ask, why don't I just make this out of strawberries? It's a little bit different, and I got it for free out of my yard. Kind of reminds me of kind of a weak margarita without all the sugar, without the mixer, because I have my syrup, my lemon, carbo water. So yeah, golden currants. Did you know that we have those here? I'm always on the lookout for new and exciting things to forage. This one, as you saw, I grow. If you're in San Diego, Southern California, the season's kind of over for the year, but you can look next year. If you're up in the Sierras, there's probably an altitude where you can find these. You might even still find them. Right now, I'm filming, it's August. You might find them in Mendocino, Sonoma, that kind of area. They grow kind of around lakes, but not down in a creek bed. And they're really cool, exciting edible that a lot of people don't know about. So I hope you like this video. I don't know if you're still with me. Thanks for sticking through. This one's a little bit technical. This one's a little bit experimental. But appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.